welcome everybody to week 2, episode 2 of the Fresh Slate. I am your host, Tyler Mroz, and we had a very, I'll call it interesting NFL week 6. Is it week 6 or 7? I think it's 7. I'm pretty sure it's 7. I don't think I just updated. Yeah, I didn't update that. That's on me. First graphic on there. What do you know? But yeah, NFL week 7. Steelers Jets are at halftime right now. It's an okay game. I've been preaching it for a while on here that NFL has an issue with primetime games. Thursday night game, which we'll get to in a little bit, that was pretty awful. Probably the worst Thursday night game of the year so far. So let's get right into that one. Broncos Saints, 33-10. Instead of the stats at the end, now I'm going to be putting the biggest storyline. So was this really the worst Thursday night game of the year? Or not even Thursday night, just prime time in general. And I do think that's the case. I think that even before the game even was played, that people were arguing that it was probably going to be a awful and a pretty abysmal Thursday night game, primetime game, whatever you want, just a football game in general. And it was. Broncos just manhandled the Saints. Spencer Rattler did not look good. 25 completions, but he only averaged 5 yards of completion, so not great there. Denver held Alvin Kamara to just 10 rushing yards. I know he had 6 catches, but still only 14 yards. So Denver, Bo Nix didn't look great. He missed a lot of throws, underthrew, overthrew a lot of people. But Javonte Williams, he seems to finally have had his breakout for this year. So he's looking like a viable fantasy option. But, I mean, it was Denver's defense. They had a strip sack, recovered for a touchdown. It was just a mess. I don't know why this was even considered to be a primetime game. Thursday Night Football has been struggling. So NFL has to figure that out. Broncos, they are now 4-3 on the season. And the Saints started off 2-0. They lost 5 in a row. So they are looking for answers to turn their season back around. 9:30 a.m., bright and early, the Jags somehow beat the Patriots. The Patriots scored 10 straight to start the game, but then the Jags took over from there. It's an okay game. It was basically last week's game. Minus one? I think it was 32-15 or something. But Drake May looked very good for the Patriots. It's a very encouraging sign. I know Jacksonville's pass defense is pretty awful, but I don't care. You have your number 3 overall rookie quarterback come in and throw for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I'd say that's pretty good. So that's the only encouraging thing that you got to see for the Patriots today. Their defense looked awful. I guess Hunter Henry is looking like a good tight end again, but he's always been a good tight end. He just had Jacoby Brissett throwing him the football. Jacoby's not really a passing quarterback, which is kind of weird to say, but the teams with Jacoby like to run the ball. But yeah, no sacks for the Patriots. But yeah, Doug Peterson held on to his job for just a little bit longer. Probably not much longer. Very good chance he makes it to Philadelphia. I didn't think he was going to. I guaranteed if the Jags lost today, that they would have probably fired Doug Peterson, but that didn't happen. Trevor Lawrence looked decent. Brian Thomas Jr., though, he is having a phenomenal rookie season. Same with Tank Bigsby, second-year running back. He looked pretty awful for the Jags last year, but today, in the absence of Travis Etienne, 26 carries, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was looking like Thomas the Tank out there. He was just running through people, and they weren't even calling design plays or anything crazy. It was just inside zone, run up the middle, and he would just run through 3 or 4 defenders. So does this mean that Travis Etienne is expendable? I do think this is. I think him and Christian Kirk, there's a very good chance that one of, if not both of those guys are going to be traded at the trade deadline. because Jags sitting at 2-5, probably not going to make the playoffs. Their defense still does not look great. Looked pretty decent today. Stopped the run a ton, but I just don't see a world where Christian Kirk, especially, I could see ETN doing like split backfield with Tank Bigsby, but I think they're slowly starting to work Christian Kirk out of this offense less and less each week. Once Evan Engram came back, he became Trevor's favorite target. Again, another 5 catches today. Brian Thomas is the deep threat, 5 catches, 89 yards. Having a phenomenal rookie year. I know I mentioned that earlier, but cannot be understated how great he has been. So Jags 2-5, looking pretty good so far. And oh wait, I forgot to do this. Let's share the screen to get to the tier list. There we go. All right. So Broncos, they're still mid. Their defense is really good, but their offense is really bad. So they're mid. They'll finish around 500, but it's nothing crazy. Saints are just not good. I don't think they're in Travis territory just yet, but I could see them getting in there. But there are teams far worse, far worse than New Orleans. And then Jacksonville, they're still in Travis territory. I know these two have the same record, but I don't trust the coaching staff for the Jags, and they're playing the Eagles in a couple weeks, so we'll see. Patriots are the worst team in the league right now, not naming the Cleveland Browns, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, New England, not great. Not great at all. Not even good. So they are looking pretty bad. Besides Drake May, I mean, you have Hunter Henry as your wide receiver 1. That's pretty bad. Let me see. Oh, I didn't even know that could do that. Trying to get to head coaches, because now we're going to go back to the head coaching tier list. This is what it was last time. Robert Saleh is currently browsing Indeed. Means he was fired. July, Florida, red hot. These people could be fired at any moment. Warm, not yet, but there's a good chance. Room temperature is a possibility. Chilly is probably not. I mentioned with Tomlin and McVay, you will not see a tweet that says Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin has been fired. It'll be they part ways and they take a year off. That's what it would be. So Doug Peterson is still in the hot seat. July, Florida. If you haven't been to Florida in July, avoid it. It's pretty hot. So Doug Peterson, yeah, he's still in the hot seat. He could get fired after next game if they lose. If it looks bad enough, that Chicago game was awful. I don't know who they have next week. I believe it's Green Bay. Yeah, it's Green Bay. So probably another loss there. And then you got Philly, Sunday Night Football. Doug Peterson's final game, maybe in Philadelphia on prime time. But Dennis Allen, I don't know if he's going to be an in-season firing because he started off really good, and Derek Carr's been injured. So I think he got a little bit of slack there. So I think he'll be an off-season firing. I don't think he's going to get fired in season unless Derek Carr comes back and the team looks pretty awful. They also have Rashid Shaheed on IR, so you can have enough blame to go around. Gerard Mayo, he's been Bill Belichick's successor for years, according to Robert Kraft. So he's not going anywhere. And then where are you, Sean? Yeah, Sean Payton's not going. They have the richest owner in the league. Paid him all that money to come in. This is his second year. And the team looks decent. So you really cannot get rid of Sean Payton at this point. It's not even a question. Eagles, the Saquon revenge game. The Giants decided to pay Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. And I'm glad that they did as an Eagles fan. Saquon today, 17 carries, 176 yards and a touchdown. The most yards per carry average, 10.6. It's the most in Eagles history. And he has the most rushing yards through the first 6 games with the Eagles. So Saquon Barkley has just been one of the best free agent signings in the entire league. Him and Derrick Henry, all the running backs that signed this offseason. Saquon, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon. They've all been going off for their respective teams. And the Giants are now 0-4 at home. MetLife Stadium is cursed. You cannot convince me otherwise. A.J. Brown was the only person that did anything in the receiving room. 5 catches, 89 yards, a touchdown. The most yards after him, it was Kenny Gainwell, who had 1 catch for 11 yards. Devontae Smith did nothing today. He had 2 targets, 1 catch for -2 yards. I don't know where he was, but listen, it's a 28-3 victory for the Eagles. Their defense looked phenomenal. 8 sacks. Nakobe Dean and Jalen Carter had 2. Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, Jalix Hunt, they all had 1 as well. Dexter Lawrence was eating them up at first. Still need to figure out how to score points in the first quarter. That's a little bit of an issue. But, I mean, this was the first win of the year for the Eagles that it felt comfortable the entire time. You were not in any danger of losing this game. So, a very, very positive sign for the Birds. And the Giants are just not a good team. They have pieces. Dexter Lawrence is probably the best interior D lineman in the entire league. So they have pieces, but I'll start the quarterback, and they do not have a good quarterback whatsoever. So Eagles, I still think they're a wild card team. We'll see how they play out. Could get better. Could end up here. But for right now, with still Nick Sirianni's coaching this team, I still think they are a wild card team, especially with how hot Washington's been. We'll get to them. Giants aren't good. I had the Sunday night game last week. Had them in mid, not good. It was depending on the game, but the game was still going on. They're just not a good team. Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback. Brian Dable is a good coach. He just has a pretty awful hand, and it's unfortunate to see for them. So, yeah, I don't think that the Giants are going to be that bad. I still think they're a decently bad team. There's far worse. But Titans, speaking of far worse, a 34-10 loss to the Bills today. The Bills just have an elite offense. They have one of the MVP favorites right now in Josh Allen, who still is yet to throw an interception, which is pretty crazy because it's Josh Allen, has one of the most highest turnover rates in the league since he came in. But he's just been cooking today. They got James Cook and Ray Davis on the ground. And then you just bring in Amari Cooper. He gets a touchdown today, but Keon Coleman was the leading receiver with 125 yards. Khalil Shakir had 7 for 65. This offense has a bunch of dangerous pieces, and their defense looked really well today. I mean, you're going up against Mason Rudolph and the Titans, who don't really have much. Calvin Ridley, 9 targets again, but how much of those were actually targets? I know last week he had, 8, and he had no catches, but 5 of them were not even catchable, and the other 2 were okay, kind of maybe, but Titans look awful. Bills look elite. So go into the tier list. I still think that the Bills are conference championship contenders. I think within the coming weeks, we could say they are the cream of the crop. They could be better than Houston. I don't think that's the case right now. But for the Titans, they're in Travis territory. I think they're worse than I don't know, because the Jags have an okay offense and a terrible defense. The Titans have a really good defense. Didn't show it today, but their offense is just abysmal. They have Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, D-Hop, but when your quarterbacks are Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, that's going to happen to you. So Titans are in Travis territory. And the Colts, they beat the Dolphins, a nothing game. Miami is begging Tua to come back. He's allegedly starting next week against Arizona, and Miami really needs it. Devon Achane looked decent, 5 yards carry on 15 carries, so he looked pretty good finally. So maybe he'll be even better when Tua comes back, because he really went downhill once Tua went on the IL. But Tyler Huntley and Tim Boyle, neither of them got over 100 yards passing. And they're 2-4. That's very bad. They were supposed to be a Super Bowl contending team. You have Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, Odell Beckham, Jalen Waddle, and the only person that got over 2 catches was Jonnu Smith, who had 7 for 96 and a touchdown. But I mean, Anthony Richardson doesn't look good either for the Colts. So I'm sticking to what I said last week with the Colts. They are the literal definition of mid. They're not terrible, but they are not good at all. Richardson is a project. If they're trying to win, put in Flacco. I'm sorry. Richardson, it really doesn't look like he's ready. He had more. Is that true? Did he have more? Yeah. He had more rushing attempts than passes completed. He threw the ball 24 times. So, the Colts are definition of mid. The Dolphins, I'm going to stick them in because when Tua comes back, how much of the issues are really going to be resolved? I think it's a lot bigger than people think. Tua has a huge impact on this team. I am going to put them in mid right now just because Tonga Vailoa comes back next week. I think they'll get on the right track. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs at this point. Could see them going on a run. It's usually this time of the year they're dropping 70 points and Tyreek Hill's getting 50 points in fantasy. So maybe since Tua went out, they're going to have that mid to late season, and then they kind of fall off at the end, right on cue. So I'm going to leave them in mid for now. I don't think they're a bad team whatsoever. I just think they need their quarterback back. And then maybe the game of the week. I definitely didn't get this score right. So let me adjust it real quick. But the Lions, 31-29 victory over the Minnesota Vikings, who are no longer undefeated. And this is the title of the video. A new MVP has emerged. Jared Goff has solidified himself as a maybe MVP favorite, honestly, at this point. The Lions are 5-1. They look like the best team in the National Football League. That offense looks unstoppable, and their defense, they did give up 29 points today, but you're going up against Sam Darnold, who's been hot. Aaron Jones has been phenomenal for them. And you're going up against Justin Jefferson, who usually always goes crazy against Detroit. But, I mean, they held him. I mean, Jefferson still had a good game, but, I mean, you beat him. Yeah, you beat him. That's all that matters. The defense had 4 sacks, picked off Darnold. So Detroit has established themselves this week, I feel, as the best team in the league besides the Kansas City Chiefs. And their ranking is not going to change from last week. They're cream of the crop. They are the best team in the NFC. I don't really think it's close. I think there's a lot of very good teams in the NFC, but in terms of elite, I would only put one team right there, and that is the Detroit Lions. But Vikings, I'll still put them in conference championship contenders. I did say last week that I think they're going to come back down to earth, although I still think they're going to perform very well and make I don't know if about a deep playoff run, but with how they've been playing, they can definitely be conference championship contenders. I don't see why they wouldn't, as long as Sam Darnold continues to be at least decent, which he was today. Bengals beat the Browns. Deshaun Watson, his season is done. He looked like he ruptured his Achilles right off the bat, and Kevin Stefanski confirmed that. So Deshaun Watson is done for the year. Jameis Winston eventually came in. Dorian Thompson-Robinson came in. He didn't look good, so Jameis is that emergency third quarterback. Bengals. Burrow looked okay. He looked okay. Nothing more. Their ground game, they ran it with Zach Moss 6 times for 7 yards. Chase Brown, 15 for 44. That's really – there's not much to say about this game besides Deshaun Watson is done for the rest of the regular season. Don't know if he'll be back in time for next year. I haven't heard much on that. Bengals are mid. Their offense is good. Their defense is not. I know they held the Browns to 14 points, but the Browns haven't gotten over 20 points in a game so far. But, Bengals are mid. They just need to move on from Zach Taylor. He's not a good head coach at this point. And the Dolphins are in Dolphins. The Browns, they're in Travis territory. The worst team in the NFL. But maybe with Jameis Winston, maybe he can motivate them to eat some W's. I really think that could happen. So I think they could be up here by the end of the year. But for right now, they are the worst team in the league. They are 1-6. Their defense looks good. They do. They just can't score anything on offense. So we'll see what happens with, I'm assuming, Jameis Winston as the starting quarterback. Came in, almost let them come back, but ultimately didn't. It was too late. So, yeah, we'll see what they do next week. Packers beating the Texans. This may have been, besides Lions, Vikings, the game of the day so far. And the Packers just have a spread out offense. Every week it's somebody different. You have that one guy that kind of goes off, but it's not anything crazy. And then you have just the rest of the guys are all really well. Josh Jacobs got his first career receiving touchdown, which was pretty cool. Romeo Doubs, since coming back from the suspension for not showing up to practice allegedly, saying he was frustrated for the role he had in the offense, Jordan Love has been finding him very well. Today he had 8 catches, 94 yards. And then the other 3 touchdowns, Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs. And their number one receiver, Jaden Reed, only had 2 catches for 10 yards. So this offense is scary. They have a ton of good pieces. Jordan Love, not the next Aaron Rodgers. He's not. Because this Jordan Love, he throws a lot of interceptions. He's a gunslinger. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks today. But hey, that's the Jordan Love experience for you. He's just going to get hot and he can throw a lot of picks. But Texans, CJ Stroud, 10 for 21, 86 yards. Packers really held the Texans in check, especially CJ Stroud. Dalton Schultz was their leading receiver, 1 catch for 28 yards. Stephon Diggs, 5 for 23. So this Packers defense really shut down the Texans, who have been elite so far this year. But Packers, they are conference championship contenders. I do have them above the Vikings. I think they're an overall better team, better quarterback. I don't think Sam Darnold has that X factor. I always say you need to have that X factor quarterback to win a Super Bowl, and Packers have that. Vikings don't, unfortunately. So Texans, I did have them at cream of the crop, but I'm going to reserve that for just 2 teams. I'm going to put them in conference championship contenders. I do still think they're better than Buffalo. It's close, though, because Buffalo, I don't know, maybe with Amari Cooper, it'll be different. These interchangeable, but as of right now, CJ Stroud, still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Definitely top 10. Is he top 5? Off the top of my head, no. But we'll see. Seahawks, absolutely destroying the Falcons today, 34-14. This was the Mike McDonald defense. This defense has been very inconsistent. There's games where they're giving up 34, like last week to San Francisco, and then you give up 14 today. Bijan went off 21 for 103 and a touchdown, but really shut down Kirk Cousins. Nobody really could do anything on that offense besides Bijan. Kenneth Walker, happy birthday to him. He was questionable to play today because of an illness. I don't think he was actually ill. He probably just having a couple drinks the previous night celebration. So he went off today. DK Metcalf, 99 yards and a touchdown. Very good game from that entire team. I'll get to it now. They're a wild card team. They're nothing more. They're nothing less. I think the Eagles are better than them. Not by much at this point, but Seahawks, I don't think they're going to. Oh, wait. Oh, my gosh. They are in the lead of that division right now. Because, they're 4-3. Cardinals stink. Rams stink. Niners are below 500 now. So, Seahawks are currently first place. They could end up winning the NFC West, which would be a crazy thing to think about. Who would have had that on their bingo card? Definitely not me. Falcons are also a wild card team too. Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback. No, he's a good quarterback. Probably not top 10. I don't even know if he's top 15 off the top of my head. Probably is, but not super high. Probably in the 15 to 13 range. I'll just leave them in wild card. Their defense is okay. Very inconsistent, though. I don't know about the Falcons. We'll see in the coming weeks. No Jaden Daniels. No problem. The MVP, one of the favorites for MVP, the Rookie of the Year favorite, goes out very early on in this game. Marcus Mariota comes in for the Commanders, 40-7. Again, it's the Panthers, But oh my goodness, 18 to 23, 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just a crazy game. Who would have thought Marcus Mariota in the year of 2024 would come in and lead a team to a 40-point victory? Not me. The momentum started very early. Andy Dalton threw a pick six on the first drive of the game. They were driving, and then boom, pick six. Chuba Hubbard didn't have a great game. Washington's run defense looked really good against them today. Miles Sanders breaking out for some runs, but for the Panthers, we'll do the Commanders first. I don't know why I said the Panthers, but Commanders, I still think they're a wild card team. Are currently better than the Eagles at this point. So yeah, I'm going to put them in wild card team for now. Panthers are in Travis territory. They're not good. I don't know if Bryce Young will be starting for this team again at some point. If they get so far out of it, they're just like, screw it. We'll put in Bryce Young. Don't think they're that bad. They're worse than the Patriots. I don't think they're better than the Titans. They're around here. These are interchangeable. Patriots, Panthers. I won't get mad at you if you say either team is worse than the other. So Rams beat the Raiders. It's a battle of mid. Nothing happened. Gardner Minshew is somehow a starting quarterback, but that is because Aiden O'Connell broke his thumb, so he's going to be out probably for a little bit. So Gardner Minshew is back to starting for the Raiders. Rams looked fine. The Raiders are pretty awful. So I don't. They're not good. I'll stand by that. I know Cooper Kupp's coming back, but I just don't think they're that good. Their defense is okay. Matt Stafford has regressed heavily. He's not the same. I understand he doesn't have his top two receivers, but Matt Stafford, even last year with them, didn't look great. I wouldn't say awful. He's just old. That's true. Raiders, they're also in Travis territory. We added who did we add? Panthers? I think I had the Panthers and not good, but Raiders, they are pretty bad. And we're going to get to the hot seat ranking, and Antonio Pierce is going up that list because of recent reports. So Raiders are in Travis territory. They're probably going to finish with a top 5 pick. If any of these teams get out of it, I do see it being the Jags. Maybe they make a late playoff push because that happened last year, the last 2 years. 2 seasons ago, they started off really awful, and then they were really good. And last year, they started off really good, and then they ended the year really awful. So maybe we'll see. Only time will tell. I would get killed for saying that. I didn't say it seriously, so that we know. Chiefs, who's going to stop them? Really, who is? I don't know. Everything about that team except for Patrick Mahomes looks good right now, which is an insane thing to say about a 6-0 team who has won back-to-back Super Bowls. Mahomes, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's it. That's the only bad thing I can say about this Chiefs team right now. I think he has more interceptions for the season than he does touchdowns. I want to confirm that. Does he? He does. 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. And he was the MVP favorite. I don't know how he was the betting odds favorite at all. This defense looks unstoppable. Brock Purdy threw 3 picks. They held Jordan Mason, the leading rusher, second leading rusher, to 4.1 yards a carry. Kansas City, they should have a tier of their own, honestly, but cream of the crop. I will point out that the 2 teams at the top are the teams I predicted in the preseason to make it to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, I'm not a genius or anything, but the Niners had them in wild card. They're 3-4 right now. Brandon Ayuk. Kyle Shanahan just said he fears he tore his ACL. So Ricky Pearsall is going to be a very popular waiver wire pickup. I would suggest getting him if you can. With Brandon Ayuk out for the year. Heavy question marks surrounding Christian McCaffrey. Some people are saying he's close. Some people are saying he's not. I don't know what to believe. I haven't heard anything from Schefter or Rappaport. But I still think they're a wild card team. I really do. Even with Ayuk likely done for the season and McCaffrey question marks surrounding him, still think they'll turn it up. They'll finish around the 500 mark. They usually go on a long run, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a crazy run and win the rest of their games and maybe one or two more. But yeah, I'm going to leave them in wild card. I can't put them any higher than that right now, which is pretty crazy to say, considering they just made the Super Bowl last year. But Sunday night game, it's Steelers, Jets, 16-15 right now. Steelers, update this. Steelers are beating Jets. 16-15. I'll admit, it's another one. Why are these games on prime time? Who thought that this was a good idea for the Steelers? I don't know why you started Russell Wilson, but they're a wild card team. Like I said, I'll say it every week. It's a Mike Tomlin team. They're not going to be elite. They are not going to be anything close to being bad. They are just going to be they're mid, but they're going to be a wild card team. And they're going to get blown out in that first game, especially if Russ is their quarterback. He didn't look good, but he started to get better in the second quarter. Jets, I think they're getting Hassan Reddick back. They brought in Devontae Adams. I think they're a wild card team. They looked a lot better last week, but if with a loss today, I'm ready to drop them to mid. Is Bill Belichick going to be the coach of that team? No way. No way. I don't think Aaron Rodgers and Bill Belichick. I don't know. I could see it. I could see it. But that would be an insane thought to think about. But another snoozer primetime game. Who wants to watch that? Not me, but I'm a loyal fan to the NFL, so I'm gonna watch it. And tomorrow, doubleheader. This game, I love this game. Ravens Bucks. You have the two MVP favorites, probably minus Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels. You got Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So a great game, a phenomenal game. Thank you, NFL. You finally got it right. Ravens conference championship contenders. Derrick Henry's a bad man. He really is. And so is Lamar. But Lamar just doesn't get it done in the playoffs. So I would have him maybe close to here, maybe farther up, but I'm leaving them right there for now. Bucks, I also think, could be conference championship contenders. Really have to see what they do. But I'm going to leave them in wild card. I think they're better than all of these teams except for Washington right now. I know they killed Washington week 1, but I still think the Bucks are a wild card team. But Baker Mayfield's really good. Baker Mayfield is a top 3 MVP candidate right now. I could move him there, but again, I have to see what they do tomorrow. Doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Why is this a primetime game? Why? The Chargers and the Cardinals. Jets, Steelers. I'm losing my train of thought because I'm so aggravated by this. You're telling me you went, you know what would be a phenomenal 4-game stretch of primetime? Let's do Broncos, Saints. Oh, yeah. And it gets even better. Let's do Jets, Steelers. And Ravens, Bucks. Yes. Okay. Now we're talking. But we're going to have a doubleheader. And we're going to put the Chargers and the Cardinals, 2 okay teams. And it's probably not going to be that good of a game. Hope I'm wrong. I love Kyler Murray. Love Justin Herbert. Probably not going to be a good game, though. So, Chargers, I still think they're going to be a wild card team. I think they're going to be like the Steelers. They're going to be the 6th and 7th seed, probably. Jim Harbaugh, he just wins. Yeah, he wins. Maybe not the big game, but Cardinals aren't good. I think they're better than the Giants. Better than this. I don't know. If I had to rank these teams, that seems about right. Jonathan Gannon is not a good head coach. So maybe it's fine. He's not getting fired anytime soon. But Cowboys, they're mid right now. They don't look good at all. Their defense looks terrible. Their offense looks okay. Dak is the king of garbage time touchdowns. Brandon Cooks is out. They have no running game. Are they going to get an Alvin Kamara? Are they going to get a Travis Etienne? I don't know. But as of right now, they are mid. Bears, I think, are a wild card team. They looked very good against Jacksonville last week. Not saying much, considering it's the Jaguars. But, they look good. They look good. Caleb Williams is finally starting to get chemistry with Keenan Allen. He had 2 touchdown grabs last week. So I do think that they are potential wildcard team. So there we go. This is the Fresh Slate Week 7 NFL Power Rankings. Cream of the crop. Looking good. My preseason picks are looking really good, minus my Jalen Hurts MVP pick. That is not looking that good. He has looked better, though. I will give him that. He does look better. So going to this head coaching list. I know we did it earlier, but I'm not going to move any of this. I mentioned it. I think Antonio Pierce is starting to get a little bit warm. You're like, why? He was the interim coach last year, and the players were fighting for him. They just traded Devontae Adams. The team looks awful. Tom Brady just became a minority owner, and allegedly, a report came out that Brady wants Bill Belichick as the head coach of the Raiders. That could happen. Got a high pick. Get at your choice of a quarterback. I think that Antonio Pierce could be gone if the Raiders keep looking that bad. It's a different story if the Raiders are looking decent, even decent, but they're not. They look awful, and I think he's getting warm. Anybody else? McDermott, I'll put him back to Chile. They look very good. I don't see a world where they fire him, even if they're a first-round exit. But yeah, I mean, I think all the rest are the same. Brian Callahan, maybe. I don't know. I said I don't think any of the first year. I'm going to move this. Jim Harbaugh's not getting fired. Dan Quinn is not. I don't think any of these people are. Raheem Morris and Mike McDonald, I would say definitely not. These and Gerard Mayo. I was just ranting about how he's not getting fired earlier. But these two, question marks. Team doesn't look good, but I feel like they have to stick him out. You just fired Frank Reich 10 weeks into his first season. And then Brian Callahan, he has Will Levis and Mason Rudolph as his quarterbacks. Same thing they did with Vrabel. He's going to be coach. He could be the coach of the Jets. He could be the coach of I don't know. I'm getting the hypotheticals. I just love Mike Vrabel. Can't wait to see him back coaching a team. So, yeah, this is a hot seat. I got to make a name for this. I'm just going to call it who's on the hot seat for now. Week 7. Again, Robert Saleh is the only person that was fired so far. Bengals won, Jags won, Eagles won, Cowboys on a bye, Raiders lost. So Antonio Pierce is really the only person I really saw any movement from. If Doug lost today, he would have been up there. Zach Taylor, maybe if they had lost to Cleveland, he would have been up there. But nonetheless, they both won. So they bought themselves at least one more week. I think probably, a little bit more, like 2 weeks. So this is it. The week 7 head coaching hot seat ranking. So moving on from football, the New York Yankees. The Empire strikes back. Man, I don't like the Yankees, but I love Juan Soto. I love Aaron Judge. Happy that they're back in the World Series. The MLB is bathing in their money bath tonight because it's going to either be a Subway Series between the Yankees and the Mets, or you get Judge versus Ohtani, the 2 MVPs of the league, the 2 best players in the league in the World Series. It's the MLB's wet dream. And it's 7-3 Dodgers right now in Game 6. So it's looking like we are going to get a Dodgers-Yankees World Series. And shout out to Jacob Hopkins, Florida Man Sports, pointing out a stat. Every even year, the number 1 seed has won the World Series. So with the Yankees-Dodgers matchup, we're guaranteed to get that. So weird thing for baseball, which is, it's usually the 1 seed versus the 6 seed or 2 seed, 3 seed. You're getting 2 number 1 seeds. I don't remember the last time this happened off the top of my head. I'm going to have to do a little research on that, but looking like it's going to be Dodgers-Yankees. So this time next week, we'll be talking all about that, I'm sure. Garrett Cole versus Yamamoto, Game 1. That's going to be good. NBA season tips off. Paul George for the Sixers. Don't know if he's going to play. He had a hyperextended right knee. Didn't look great. So we'll see. Sixers tip off against the Bucks. But in terms of the first night, Knicks, Celtics banner being raised, but Porzingis is out. I don't know when he's going to come back. Knicks, Mitchell Robinson's the only one that's been ruled out. And then the later game is Timberwolves, Lakers. I get it's LeBron. That's probably the only reason why the Lakers are here. You have JJ Redick, his first game as a head coach. Timberwolves coming off of a conference finals appearance, traded away one of their franchise cornerstones in Karl Anthony Towns. So we'll see how they look. And then Wednesday, any big games besides Sixers, Bucks, Magic, Heat. That could low key be a decent game. That's going to be a game where it's 92-90. That's going to be they play good defense, especially Miami. Any other really good games? Suns Clippers could be good, and that's really it. That's the only thing that I see that I would be interested in. First game in the Intuit Dome, that should be really cool. That arena looks awesome. Love to visit it someday. Definitely on my bucket list. But wrapping things up, 6 days from now is UFC 308. Ilia Topuria, the champion, going up against Max Holloway. Holloway's first fight since knocking out Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. Topuria's first since knocking out Alexander Volkanovski to win the featherweight belt. I think Topuria is going to win. I think it's going to definitely be a good fight. The Alex Pereira fight was awesome. I was getting a little nervous because Pereira looked like he was going to lose at first, but came back and just obliterated Khalil Roundtree. So UFC's banking on this card being good. You got Rob Whittaker and Hamzat Chimaev on there too. So it should be a very, very good card. So that is going to do it. Thank you for bearing with me. I do feel a little bit under the weather. So thank you for bearing with me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. The second edition of the Fresh Slate. Make sure here on Heat Ratio Sports tomorrow, you're checking out Tony live at Pike's Pub tomorrow. Tony Jigsaw Cotillo. The return to Pike's Pub every Monday. So make sure you are tuning in there. I'll be joining him for the first hour. So very excited for that. So yeah, that is going to do it here for this edition of the Fresh Slate. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great night, everyone. And as always, stay fresh, my friends.